Hello class, we are going to start with preconditions and postconditions. This is located in your textbook on page 215 through pages 228. You need to have your textbook out so you can take a look at the examples, and we'll also refer back to chapter 2 a little bit. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to read this section about preconditions and postconditions. What they do is they allow us to reason about methods, helping us to make sure they are correct. And this is on page 215, the hard copy of your textbook. Preconditions are a condition that should be true when a method is called. And also you need to know that postconditions are a condition that should be true when a method finishes executing. So let's take a look, a better example of how preconditions and postconditions work. And if you look here, shown in this program, this is actually your homework. It says here, consider the following incomplete declaration of a code class, which represents a code consisting of letters and digits. The actual code is stored internally as a string variable, my code. Portions of a code may be hidden by changing a corresponding letter or digit to an X. Hidden portions may be later recovered. So if you were a programmer creating a code that is hidden from others, which many programmers do all the time, you would create something like this, where you would create a code program. Notice that you would have instant variables as shown here, string my code, and then here's your constructor, public code, which takes a string value as a parameter, string code. And the instance data and parameter are connected. And then notice our first method that states get code and it to return my code. Now once it gets the code, here is where your precondition is set up. And keep in mind that preconditions and postconditions are on the AP Computer Science free response questions. You will see chunks of information like this all the time, and you need to understand what it means. In this case, you have the example P1 is greater than or equal to 0, and P1 is less than P2. Another precondition that's in this program, P2 is less than or equal to my code.length. So let's take a closer look at what this means, and usually you will see it in the form of relational operators. Now as you can see here, if we were to enter in a 7-digit word consisting of not 7 digits, but 7 letters, you would see here that P1 would start at index location 0, and then P2 would start at index location 6, giving it a total of 7 letters. Now it states here that P1 has to be greater than or equal to 0, and I put the comment here that P1 has to be greater than or equal to 0, which is true because P1 is at index location 0, therefore it is equal to 0. So we know this precondition is true. Also they have P2 is less than or equal to my code.length. And the comment shown here, P2 located at index location has to be less than or equal to my code.length, is showing that my code.length is equal to index location 6. And P2 is also located at index location 6, so it has to be equal, and this is also true. Note that the end of a string has the same index location as the dot length method. So the dot length method gives you the number of letters or digits within that string value, and it shows you the end of the string value. So these two match. Now keep in mind that once you know your preconditions and your precondition, we haven't started postcondition yet, it states to, as shown here, to replace the characters in the code starting at position P1 until position P2 minus 1 inclusive with an X. So P2 minus 1, that is the same as P2 dot length minus 1, which would take you back to index location 0. It would be inclusive with an X. So notice the hide method, public void hide, int P1, comma, int P2, meaning starting location, ending location. So we know what P1 and P2 mean. And it says here, to be implemented. Now look at the next precondition. So that's for the hide method. So the next precondition follows for the recover method. Precondition P1 greater than or equal to 0, or P1 is less than P2, or you have P2 is less than or equal to my code.length. So here's another precondition for the recover method, and it is the same precondition for the hide and recover methods, but keep in mind those must be true before you can invoke or call on the method. Recover says restores to their original values the characters in the code starting at position P1 until position P2 minus 1 inclusive. So what it will do is remove the X and put the string values back into the code. So looking here, the program is asking the user to enter a word or code. P1 is the starting index of a string. P2 is the ending index or value of the string. So let's take a look at the actual homework assignment that you were assigned tonight. It says here, suppose the following code is created, and I'll move this back up. So once the code is created, code equals new code, and then it just gives various string values there. Now it says here the following sequence of method calls results in the instance variable my code having the indicated values. So using the hide method is at index location 2 ending at 7, and notice how it replaces it with X values. And then the recover method saying starting at index location 5 and ending at 9. It actually started at index location 5 and recovered those values up to index location 9. So the hide method places an X as the code, recover recovers that code. So it says here in your problem that you have to do tonight, thinking ahead to implementing the hide and recover methods, declare in this part any additional instance variables you will need and any additional code you may need in a constructor. So here's your instance variables. Notice how we had P1 and P2 as parameters, but they have no instance variables to connect to. So your job is to make sure it has additional instance variables as well as connecting with the constructor. But now notice I have used Pig Latin and Pig Latin translator to help you in chapter 4. Or use string mutation program page 84 to help you. So page 84 is a great example of how you can use the hide and recover methods, and they have 2 string methods that you can definitely use to help you implement the hide method. So you need to think about that and figure out how to include method body into your program. Now notice I did not assign C. Now I didn't assign C because you may want to think about it as far as an upcoming quiz that I mentioned to you, and I would take it upon yourself to solve this problem. So you'll get all of these done, or at least A and B, and it's up to you to do C, but it'll definitely help you for our upcoming quiz. So this is a brief lesson on preconditions and postconditions and how to use it with free response questions that you will definitely see on any future quizzes, tests, or even the AP Computer Science free response. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, drjonestech@gmail.com. Have a great evening.